Isak is flagged, which is a shame because it's Operation Target Leicester as Newcastle take on the Foxes in game week 31, and Isak is surely the best captaincy option. Welcome to the Gianni YouTube show. Hope you guys are good and looking forward to game week 31. I'm hopeful I'll still be captaining Isak, and we'll talk more about captaincy and an Isak update later in the show. I hope your game week 30 went well. So many of you were on wildcard. About 75% of my YouTube audience were on wildcard in game week 30, so I hope it went well for you guys. I'm sure one player you all bought in was Omar Marmoush, and if it wasn't, I would consider bringing him in, and this is why. But first up, 18 captaincy points. I'm really happy with that. Many of you, I think, went Salah, some backed Marmoush. I was pretty vocal about being hard on Marmoush, like from day one. As soon as I knew Haaland was injured, it was Marmoush for me. So I'm happy with that, and the numbers were so good as well. When we look at Marmoush's stats in recent weeks, they're positive, but when we look at his stats versus Leicester, and he won't play Leicester every week, 9 shots, right? 3 of them were on target, okay? 2 of them were off target and 4 of them were blocked, but 9 shots, most of them in the box. He is becoming, or was, versus Leicester, small sample size, he was the big chance hog. He was the Haaland in that team. Now, Marmoush's finishing has been better than Haaland's this season, and if he continues to get chances, even if not on this quite level, he's going to score a ton of points. And when we look back at recent weeks, he wasn't really a 90-minute man. In fact, against Leicester was the first time he got 90 minutes in a Man City shirt. What we know is he always starts, other than the Forest game in game week 28. But the XGI, 1.58 versus Leicester, and the fixtures are there for him coming up. Man United is a good fixture. Palace is a good fixture. There's a double game week very likely in game week 33 for him as well. And when we look at that captaincy matrix, when I look ahead and I look at the following weeks, now Isak surely is going to be popular, but definitely captain, or can captain Marmoush in game week 33. Definitely can captain Marmoush in game week 35, and possibly in game week 36 when they'll have a double game week as well. So we're looking at like 3 of the next 6 game weeks. If you don't own this player, I think buy him. What you won't see much on this list in terms of first choice is the name Mohamed Salah, which is interesting. Salah doesn't have the doubles, and he doesn't benefit like Isak and Marmoush from really good fixtures at the right time. Anyway, that's enough on captaincy. This is my team selection video. If you're enjoying the video, do hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We'll talk more about captaincy later in terms of captaincy for game week 31. But yeah, I do really appreciate you guys hitting that subscribe button. I know it only takes a second, but if you don't ask for it, you tend not to get the subs. So here we have my bus team for game week 31, and look, I'm fairly happy, especially with the attack. It's the defence which looks a little bit iffy, and again, I'm going into it with Pickford and Mykolenko, which is far from optimal, although I do look at Everton and I do see a team that can keep clean sheets. Like against Liverpool, they kept Liverpool out other than that one mistake which led to the Jota goal. You know, Pickford got the save points. It could be similar against Arsenal, especially at Goodison. So I'm okay about having 1 Arsenal defender. I don't think I'm okay about having 2, which is why a defensive transfer is probably very likely. For those listening on podcast, I've got Dan Burn, Munoz and Mykolenko in my back 3. The midfield is stacked, and I benched Rodgers for 11 points last time out. It's going to be Enzo this time and Rodgers in the 11. Rodgers has been a bit of a troll this season. He's been amazing, but every time you bench him, he scores points in fixtures, often away from home. You don't fancy him to score points in. Like that Brighton fixture was hard for Villa and he goes and gets 11 points. So can Rodgers do it at home to Forest? He'll probably blank, but I'm going to chuck him in the 11. I've got Palmer, Sarr, Rodgers and of course Salah. And then the front 3 picking itself, Marmoush, Mateta and Isak, who is flagged. We'll talk more about that later. I've got an update. Mykolenko and Pickford is far from ideal, as I mentioned. So a defensive transfer probably looks likely. And I'll tell you more about that in a second. First though, just a shout out to the sponsor of the channel and sponsor of the team selection videos, and that is OneFootball. If you're not already on OneFootball, guys, honestly give it a go, especially for me. Like I'm out in Italy at the moment using, like I've not got English TV on all the time, right? I'm missing out on some sports news. So to get all my football news on the OneFootball app, wherever you are in the world, instantly for free. It's the first thing I check in the morning, it's the last thing I check at night. Premier League, Champions League, Serie A, it's got it all. Whether it's results, team news, video clips of the matches, data. OneFootball is my football app of choice, and there's a link in the description or the QR code on screen to download. Okay, so my team and my decisions. The Ben Crellin fixture ticker helps me out a lot here. And when we look at these fixtures, It gives us a sense of where the doubles and blanks will fall. But also for me, it gives me a sense of that difficulty and where I'm probably going to wildcard in 34. I could even possibly wildcard in 35, but I'm not sure yet. I can see the fixtures and I do know there's doubles in 32 confirmed, right? I look at Newcastle and I go, oh, I get Leicester as an entry point. I get a double game week with 2 home games, Man United and Palace, and then Villa away in 33 isn't great. But then I get Ipswich in 34. I know I want triple Newcastle, and at the moment I've got double Newcastle. So when I look at my team and players I could bring in, it's definitely a Newcastle player for me this week. Now my team needs surgery at the back, but there's a sexy pick in attack I quite like from Newcastle as well. So is it a Newcastle defender or attacker? And this is why I want to go Newcastle. Let's just look at Operation Target Leicester. And genuinely, guys, this has to be a thing. When we go back all the way, we just take February and March as a sample size, right? And the start of April. 1st of Feb, they lost 4-0 to Everton. Then in the FA Cup, they lost to Man United. They did score a goal. Then in the league, they lost to Arsenal, Brentford, West Ham, Chelsea, Man United and City on Wednesday night. All of those games I just mentioned in the Premier League, the last 7 Premier League games, not a single goal. If you've had a defender against them, you got a bank clean sheet there and probably some bonus points. Also, they concede, right? They conceded 1 to Chelsea, but in all the other games, it's 2+. They conceded 4 to Everton. They conceded 4 to Brentford. Even West Ham scored 2 against them. Even Man United scored 3 against them, right? Man City should have scored way more. Newcastle, the ceiling is high versus Leicester. They are dead and buried, and we have to jump on Newcastle assets. That is why captaincy this week, so many want to go to Alexander Isak. Now, when we look at the fixture ticker this weekend, Leicester play Newcastle on Monday the 7th of April. Now, that matters. It does mean we're not going to get the press conference news from Eddie Howe. He doesn't tell us anything anyway, but it matters because it gives more days for recovery for 2 key players. Now those key players, an update, we saw, this is a tweet on Anthony Gordon from Toon TV, but this is what he got withdrawn in the England game. Nasty bruising around his thigh. He couldn't play on Wednesday night anyway because he was suspended. He is now available in terms of suspension. Will he train? Has he been training? Probably. Will he be fit for Monday night? Quite possibly, and he could be a really, really fun pick, Anthony Gordon, with a high upside. Now, Gordon matters because Alexander Isak, and this is a tweet on Isak, this was how post-match came off in the 66th minute on Wednesday night. This is why he's flagged, right? 66th minute with a groin issue. The groin issue is a recurring injury for Alexander Isak. He wasn't feeling 100% and wasn't in his movement. This is what Howe said. Hopefully he's okay. Now Newcastle, the date, remember, is Monday the 7th when they play. He's got 5 days to recover. Does he make it? I happen to think he probably does, but I tell you what, it's risky. It's really risky. So when we look at a poll I put out on X this morning, early captaincy thoughts, I've put a flag next to Isak, and still 56% of you are captaining Isak. A few might look at Palmer and Mateta. Salah's obviously the other option. Salah goes to Fulham. The problem with captaincy this week is they're all away games, right? Other than Mateta, who's got a home, but Salah, Palmer and Isak, the 3 obvious, even Marmoush, who goes to Man United, the 4 of them all away from home. We like to captain a player at home or against a team we can target like Leicester. If you're not captaining Isak, could you bank on a Murphy or a Gordon? Well, maybe you could. Maybe you could, because I think Leicester is a fixture we target, just like with Marmoush. Haaland didn't play, and I went, I'm still going to captain Marmoush because it's an attacking player, in this instance the number 9, against the league's worst team. And I think you could do that with Murphy or Gordon, I really do. But if Isak doesn't play, does he come on? That's the key. If Isak doesn't start, does he come off the bench? That's what you fear with captaincy, is the cameo. I don't think he does. You'd only put Isak on and risk him if you were losing to Leicester, if he's on the bench at all, if he's in the squad at all. Now, I think that's pretty unlikely. I think Newcastle win this football match and they don't need Isak to do it, so they probably start him if he's fit, or he just doesn't make the squad and then you go to your vice captain. So think about your vice captaincy this week. Honestly, I'd probably go Salah Fulham. It's just safe, right? But Isak with the armband for me is very likely. Or I buy Anthony Gordon and Captain Gordon or Vice Captain Gordon. That's also an option. So this is where I'm at with captaincy. It's going to go to Isak. I'm going to risk it. Hal won't tell us much. The game's on Monday. We don't get all the info. But I think I risk it because of that 5 days to recover. So when we look at my team, I've still got to make a decision with transfers, right? So let me tell you what I'm about to do with transfers. And guys, thank you for hitting that like button, and thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. This channel is 2 years old, and I'm keen to continue doing videos when in Italy, and your support really does matter. So I've got 2 versions of my team. Where is my team frail? When we see the bus team, you look at the defence and go, Gianni, that stings. You don't really want to be starting Mykolenko and Pickford versus Arsenal, do you? So I could bench Mykolenko, sell Trent, and bring in Livramento. That gives me my 3 Newcastle players, and it leaves a whopping 5.5 million in the bank. This is version 1, right? Livramento in the 11, Mykolenko on the bench, Livramento in the 11. It's double Newcastle defence versus Leicester. We've seen Leicester don't often score goals. They haven't scored in their last 7 Premier League games, guys. And it leaves me a huge amount of money in the bank, which is enough money to buy Bukayo Saka very, very soon. 5.5 million. I could make Saka work, right? That's an option for me. That's an option. Or version 2 of my team is massively, massively risky because we don't know Anthony Gordon's fitness, and we don't know if he's going to be available, and Hal won't tell us. So it's a gamble. But I could go Enzo out, Jackson in. Now if I do that, we'll put Rodgers on the bench again. It would be Rodgers or Sarr on the bench. But if Gordon was in this team, it would leave 0.2 million in the bank, and it still looks, I think, bloody good going into that double game week of Game Week 32 for Newcastle. It's just the update on Gordon. I need a fitness update, and we might get it from one of the local journalists. So I'll be looking out for that, and fingers crossed I get it. Guys, let me know in the comments what you think I should do, version 1 or version 2. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. I won't be doing a deadline stream this week, so I will be putting out my team on Instagram when I've made that decision, but it'll be Livramento or Gordon in. Thank you guys as always, and I'll see you next time. Bye.